What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. So we have some really important news, I think, but I've noticed some elements that I need to address. We know that politician Tulsi Gabbard just had her hearing to become the DNI, Director of National Intelligence. And when I talked about this with Matthew Pines on the interview I did with him, link in the description, he said the following. I want to ask you about this new incoming cabinet that President Trump is putting together, because there's Ratcliffe, there's Rubio, there's Cash, and there's a couple more that seem to be UAP friendly. Do you think that's just a coincidence? Do you think there's some kind of plan being enacted in terms of UFO transparency?
It's hard to say, but you're right to point out that the selections, whether it's coincidence or not, all happen to line up on a certain side of the sort of disclosure-ish side of the balance, right? And some of the folks that were, you would say, like prima facie on the exact opposite side, like Mike Pompeo, who everyone thought was kind of going to be, in for a senior defense post for, potentially like SecDef, was like quickly bumped off, right? So, and I think that was like Tucker and Bannon that were like, they sort of nixed him. And then you've got Rubio, who of course is one of the guys from the SSCI who was, made very suggestive statements and talked about having these, firsthand witnesses and whistleblowers that credibly fear for their safety. Talk to him about these programs, and either like the most, credentialed and trusted individuals in the U.S. government are completely crazy, or there's something really weird going on, basically, is his take on this. So now he's Secretary of State. And then, you have DNI, you have Ratcliffe, who was DNI, who has given, public statements about this. Is now going to be CI director. You have Tulsi Gabbard, who I know has been told about this subject, somewhat more recently. Was very
She has, because I didn't know about that. I didn't know she was. Nice.
Yeah, I was told that she was given some sort of briefing or informal conversation with individuals involved in this. And obviously RFK has made statements about this, and you had Danny Sheehan at RFK's house for Thanksgiving. Vivek has even given statements about this. He's leading Doge, leading Doge. You have even JD Vance has commented on, I think, one of the rallies. He's given comments about it, like, this would be interesting. Like, we should probably dig into this. And Elon, has historically been kind of someone to poo-poo this whole subject. He also kind of around that same time, when someone asked him a question about it, he was a little bit. He changed his tune slightly. He basically said, if the U.S. government is sitting on advanced technology, it would be really good for us to know about it, right? It would be something that we should get out there, right?
I missed that. Whoa.
Yeah, you can Google Elon was doing some sort of town hall shortly before the election, and someone asked him a question about UAPs. And then National Security Advisor Waltz, is saying there's at least one really good clip of him describing.
I saw that.
Yeah, his degree of seriousness with which he took this subject, and especially about kind of these unreported activities or lack of transparency on behalf of certain elements of the executive branch. And then he was a congressman, right? So that kind of rubbed him the wrong way. So yeah, there's a lot of people that I think are interested and informed and motivated to learn more.
So Matthew clearly knew that Tulsi was already briefed on UAP. And when she spoke to the people about her appointment, she did mention UAP, which I think it could be considered the news of the day. So let me show you what she said, both about UAP and about protecting whistleblowers. She now wants for all whistleblowers to come directly to her. That is new. And it's encouraging, if you ask me. However, let me play Tulsi first, and then I'll tell you my thoughts after. Here's Tulsi Gabbard.
I would like to state a few other actions I would take if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence is, number one, make sure that we don't have illegal and unconstitutional programs within the intelligence community, making sure that we enact security clearance reform to limit access to our nation's top secrets, Make sure that every single person in the workforce understands their rights as whistleblowers and the legal channels to take, which would include coming directly to you as members of Congress, as well as establishing a direct hotline to myself should they choose to take that path. Now, in my meetings that I've had with many of you, you expressed bipartisan frustration about recent intelligence failures, as well as the lack of responsiveness to your requests for information. Whether it's the surprise October 7th Hamas terrorist attack, to the sudden takeover of Syria by Islamist extremists, failures to identify the source of COVID, anomalous health incidents, UAPs, drones, and more. If confirmed, I look forward to working with you to address these issues.
Yeah. So the concerns that I see mainly come from Democrats and left-wing people. And I know that this topic has already been contaminated by political bias. I think that is at this point inevitable. And I'm really disappointed at everybody who just keeps regurgitating information that came out from the mainstream media or the legacy media. And if you guys want to ignore that the legacy media have been the ones who have been pushing for conflict around the world, that's on you. I am not an American. I don't presume to know about American politics, nor will I ever want to get myself involved in that. All I know is that I see a lot of division when it comes to Tulsi Gabbard. I see a lot of people calling her a Russian asset, when the only place where I've seen this accusation against her is from elected officials who are Democrats and from the legacy media. And I'm sorry, but this strikes me as a talking point directed at hurting a political opponent. Whether she's a Russian asset or not, I honestly do not think that is the case. But if you want to prove me wrong, go ahead in the comments. Just be respectful. My point of this video is that if this political division continues, and I know that there are many voices within the UFO community that have a following, constantly try to sow their political bias into the topic. And I've seen many of them. And they instantly go towards talking over people, looking down on them as if they knew what's going on better than anybody. They keep regurgitating these talking points. They keep going, nobody from the Republican Party is going to bring you disclosure because they're Nazis and all this stuff. And also, I don't feel like selling my secrets about UAP to the Russians, as if the Russians had no secrets of their own about UAP. As if UAP hadn't been crashing all around the world for decades. I mean, I can see your colors showing, people. Please don't let your political bias affect you when it comes to UAP. This is not an American issue. It's a worldwide issue. And when it comes to UAP and whatever you want to call disclosure or whatever, we can't let our political bias affect it. It's already been affected quite a bit. We can already see the division within the UFO community. There's already people that left X, for example, and went to Blue Sky, and they keep complaining about X being like some kind of intelligence tool that will sway people towards one side. I don't think that's the case. I think Twitter is a reflection of the world as we see it today. Extremely divided. The reality of the world is that it's filled with violence and disagreement and a lot of nasty stuff. But in my timeline, for example, I have doggies, cats, UAP stuff, sports, and comedy, and, you know, films and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I don't see on my X curated kind of timeline. So I have to disagree with you guys there. And I just got to keep repeating this. I think that if Tulsi Gabbard does indeed address the UAP issue and does indeed provide those protections for whistleblowers that want to come forward, I think that her being appointed as Director of National Intelligence is the best possible move for the topic. And I think that people yelling that she's a Russian asset says a lot more about those people than Tulsi Gabbard herself. But that's just my opinion. I want to hear yours. And I know it's going to be fiery in the comments. So I have to repeat, please be respectful. Any disrespectful comment that I see will be erased. And I'm sorry, but I cannot tolerate political bias to inundate the comments. So if you want to make a comment about politics and going after someone that you don't really know in person, please abstain yourself. And if I see comments that are just dumb, I will pin them so they can be roasted. You've been warned. Please keep politics out of this conversation. I beg you. But yeah, let me know what you think about Tulsi Gabbard saying this in her presentation to become the DNI. Do you think she will come through? Do you think she won't? What do you think about her appointment when it comes to the UAP topic in general? Matthew Pines was very clear and he nailed it. She was briefed about UAP. She wouldn't have mentioned it if she hadn't been briefed. So kudos to Matt for this. And where does this inherent reticence against people who have a different political opinion to you comes from? Why is it so reactionary? Why is it so aggressive? I honestly don't get it. And it usually does come from people from what you guys like to call the left. Why is it so? And please keep in mind, I don't really care about partisan politics. I just care about this topic. And when it comes to politics, I think all politicians are bad in general. There are very few that are really, truly unbiased and they really, truly work for the people. But I can count them with the fingers of this hand. And it's worldwide. It is not country by country. Pretty much every politician becomes corrupt at some point, you know? So this is what we have right now. And I think that we need to remain positive and try to keep an outlook that can eventually bring us what we all want. And I think it's still disclosure, right?